Okay, here we are back at Some Roads Lead there, and we have Mike
Yo.
back on the show, which is good because Mike, I haven't been recording at all, really.
No?
No, I think
Oh.
I think I did one video after the last time you were on.
Really? Well, that was our spirituality one, right? Where we
Yeah.
were trying to get, yeah.
I think the thing was that I've had a lot to say, but I just haven't felt like talking to the camera. So it's kind of I don't know. I didn't really want to judge myself for it. I just kind of was like more like if I feel like talking to the camera, I'll do it. But if I don't,
You shouldn't have that pressure.
right?
You shouldn't have to.
No,
You know what
I
mean?
kind of always had felt in the beginning that this was kind of more just for my benefit, for
Yeah.
our own benefit.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but anyway, we do have some cool stuff to talk about. So,
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll get right into it. So the lead story here is that Mike, and I'll let you kind of explain it, but I'll just kind of introduce it.
Okay.
You went ahead and did this challenge, this running challenge called the 4x4x48,
Yes.
which is a challenge that was created by this guy named David Goggins. So I'll pass it to you right now.
Yeah.
Let you kind of get into your experience with it.
I'll tell you what, I don't know why, what possessed me. I'll be honest.
Well, why don't we start with that then?
Well, I'll tell you.
What was your true motivation?
True motivation was, first of all, 4x4x48. You run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. It didn't sound that bad, like 4 miles. So I've been running forever, so 4 miles is nothing for me personally because I run 4 miles
Yeah.
a day all the time, right?
Right.
But what I didn't realize was doing it for every 4 hours and 48 hours, how much of a challenge that would be. But I've been listening to a lot of books. Like I listened to David Goggins' book, the Rich Roll podcast. I listened to Charlie Angle, Running Man, and these guys are all amazing, right? They're doing like 100-milers, and they're doing like running through the freaking desert in the middle of summer, right? Like crazy stuff, right?
Well, does that help you? Like,
Oh, totally made me
Yeah.
think. Yeah, for sure. It says if these guys can do it, why can't I do
Right.
something like maybe not comparable, but something like that, right?
well, but I think it is like one of those things that you get to look towards what's possible because maybe this person who's some elite level endurance person has done something, so it gives you some scale.
Yeah, for sure, right?
So-
I mean, yeah. So I said, oh well, this sounds like doable to me, and I said, listen, I'm just going to kind of keep it low key, and just see if I can do it. And only reason I did it was to see if I could do it, right? And so I didn't make a lot of hinge on it, but I did say to myself that I'm going to do it. Like no excuses, and I'm just going to get this done. I don't care how bad it sucks or how good it feels or whatever. I'm just going to do it and get done with it.
I would well, first of all, I think this is an attractive challenge. I mean, I had heard about it as well, and then when you told me you were doing it, I wasn't surprised because I know you've been running a lot and so your fitness level's been high. So
Pretty good.
Like, I think my first response was like, go kill it, you
Yeah.
know, because I think I knew you were capable of it. But I think it's an interesting thing because this is something that has absolutely zero fanfare. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've done races where you're getting cheered on by strangers, you're getting cheered on by your family, and
Yeah.
this is like
It was almost the opposite.
yeah, you were by yourself.
Well,
I saw you out there one morning.
That was my third run. That was my favorite one. And as a matter of fact, if I go through my notes here, I was like,
Well,
let's
where
see.
did you start? You started at a Friday night.
So when I first looked at it, it was like so the website, the GogginsChallenge.com website was like Friday 8 p.m. to Sunday whenever, right? So
Right.
I said, it's cool. Friday 8 p.m. at work will be done. I won't have anything. I didn't realize it was Friday 8 p.m. Pacific time. You got to start, and you got to start at the same time as everybody else. Like, that's
Sure,
why
you
they-
want to be
right?
because Goggins himself is doing it.
Right, he was doing it with like Lex out in Las Vegas.
Oh, Lex did it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Did Lex do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming. I mean, he seems like the kind of guy that would do it. But so I didn't realize I had to start at 11. So I had to start at 11 p.m. Right, and just a little bit about me is by 9 o'clock most nights I'm asleep. So
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm up early in the morning or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And I'm old. But so at 11 o'clock, dude, the hardest part about this was going out at 11, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, and then once I got to daylight, it was great. So I started in dark and ended in dark because the last run was 7 p.m. on Sunday.
So you're 11, you're 3, you're 7.
Yep.
And I would think you're right. At the point you're doing the 7, I think you might, like, do you think that was a big mental hurdle of like, oh, I could run through the night, I could do it?
That was huge. The two things I had in my mind, the two runs that I had in my mind as the worst were the first one, the 11 o'clock, and then the second 3 o'clock in the morning. So because
Yeah.
you know, staying up and not being able to sleep for long periods of time.
You're usually asleep those hours.
Yeah, I'm usually asleep at 11 o'clock.
99%
3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a while, you know. So that, but once you got past it, and the other thing was it was cold and windy. You know what I mean? So that, like, you know, that's not bad when it's sunny and outside. I don't mind. I'll run in the cold or the rain
Right.
or whatever. But at 11 and 3 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, even like the 7 o'clock at night when it's dark,
Right.
that kind of sucked. That was hard. So the mental part of getting past that and just doing it was really hard. The other part was the sleeping.
What kind of, I mean, like you said, you know, you were listening to podcasts, you were listening to books.
Yeah.
Did you have any other kinds of tricks going into it? Because I'm imagining that at some point during this, you've got 48 miles to run over the course of. Hey, we've got some special guests on
some
our
youngsters.
Some youngsters coming on. And we're always welcome to guests. They don't usually want to. There they go, and there they're gone.
There they were.
There they
Here
were.
they are.
No, there he
Here they
is.
are.
Hey, he's on. He's on the show. What's going on, E?
Nothing.
E, come on and join the
No,
show.
I'm not doing it.
Look, well, hey, here's a question for you, E.
What?
Right now, I want you to go on record. Come on over. Bring your face over, if you will. If you will.
What?
All right. Right now, it is. Can we get a date here? What?
Sunday, March 14th. It's Pi Day.
It's Pi Day. It's Sunday, March 14th. You got to make the call right now, E. Knicks playoffs or no playoffs?
Playoffs.
All right. I
Oh,
like
that's
it.
bold.
I like
That's
it.
bold. I like it.
I'm a believer too.
Ooh.
All right. So, where were we?
Uh-oh.
We can close. You know what? Go. You got that?
I got it.
All right. I'll try to reorganize this. Oh, the mental. What I was thinking about was the mental tricks because.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking during all this, you got 48 miles, which is you've never run that
Never
much.
run that many miles in that short a time.
In a short time
for
like
sure. That was
that.
the most.
So it's sort of like an ultra, you know, in a way. It's got that
When you
flavor
look at the whole
to
thing,
it.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
48 miles is a lot of miles.
Yeah,
No
and
doubt.
within the course of 2 days, you're doing 50 miles. I mean, this is like, you know, sort of what an ultra is in a way.
Yep.
Did you have any mental tricks up your sleeve in terms of like dealing with just a lack of? I mean, you can answer it in a couple ways, but like, you know, what are you doing when you're not motivated and maybe you're questioning whether or not you want to continue this? If that happens.
So it definitely happened. But before I started, I said to myself, there is no fail, right? I mean, like, I'm just gonna do this, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna friggin' turn off my brain and do this. And that's kind of what I did. I just shut it down and said, I'm not thinking. So either I was listening to Lex Friedman, or I was listening to Rich Roll, or I was just listening to music. Because after a while, like at about the 8th or 9th run, I was like, I couldn't even take any words. Didn't mean anything to me anymore. You know what I mean? I was just like, couldn't listen to anything. So I just put music on. But the trick that I always do is turn off the brain. I just turn it off. I don't think about anything.
Did you do any of the runs without anything, any audio?
The 3 a.m. runs
Right.
and the 11 p.m. runs, always without audio.
With nothing.
Nothing. Just
Okay.
kind of wanted to, because I never run at that time, so I just kind of wanted to soak it in.
Yeah.
And it was cool. There's people around too. People in Monroe are up at 11. Well, everybody's up at Friday at 11, but 3 a.m. People, I'm like running, and this is going to sound weird. I'm running down through the pines, and I'm like, this window on the second floor of the house is all purple and blue, lights flashing. Some kid on a huge screen playing video games at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So,
That's
all
probably
that's
what
pretty
he
cool.
probably was playing with my son.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because he's up at those hours, you know, playing video
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing I was kind of wondering because you know I know that any time that I've done a marathon, I never like whatever I was listening to, music or whatever, I never could use it the whole time.
No.
I felt like the more pain I was in, the less I wanted, less stimulation I wanted.
Definitely.
And I just wanted to be more focused internally on.
That's what, so I think that's why two things. At night, I wanted to hear cars. Even though I was wearing a vest, like flashing lights and stuff, right?
Mhm.
I wanted to hear cars.
Was that Adam? Oh no. Oh, okay. All right. We'll see you.
And weird things, right? Like, so you're running at 3 o'clock in the morning, and these are routes that I run all the time, almost every day. It's just my neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
But at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like looking behind me. Is someone following me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, are the bad guys out?
Well,
I'm running
there's-
by the woods that I run by, and these aren't woods, it's like a little wooded lot, and I'm thinking like, something in there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something gonna get me?
You know what it is? I've done, I think, I used to train quite a bit early in the morning. I mean, I do train now a lot early in the morning. I'm doing a lot of my walks early in the morning. I'm out by 5:30, but I used to, when the kids were younger, what I used to do was I would be out the door by 4, even sometimes right before 4.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are up and about, and yeah, it's a little bit strange because, you know, people will approach you, people will stop the car, and
Yes.
and I even had probably the thing I remember the most was one time the street right up here, I was going up the hill, so just starting, it was either a run or a bike, I forget which, and a police officer pulled up next to me
Oh,
and was
that's a
like,
tough one.
"What's your story?"
Like, what the hell are you doing, man?
And you know what?
Was it
And
wintertime?
it probably was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I said, I'm working out. I said, this is the only time where nobody needs me. Everyone's sleeping. And he was like, I'm like, I got 3 kids, 2 jobs. And he was like, oh, I get it, you know.
Yeah,
And I,
that's cool.
but you know, and he was like, oh, sorry for bothering you. I'm like, no, you're just doing your job,
Right,
and
right.
finding out why this is.
Why is there some guy running at 4 o'clock in the morning or riding his
So,
bike or something?
but generally speaking, though, I always have preferred to do workouts in the dark. So,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
See, my favorite, I don't mind starting in the dark. I don't mind starting at like whatever 5:30 and then run until 7 and
Yeah.
watching the sunrise. In fact, it's one of my favorite things to do is watch the sunrise when I'm running or riding
Sure.
my bike. It just makes me feel good.
Get that half and half kind
Yeah,
of workout.
yeah. The hardest part though about the 4x4x48 was that there's so much dark running. You know what I mean? Like with no chance of sunlight, right? You know, it's like 7 p.m., 11, and 3. You just run in the dark.
Did you, at what point, like, did you reach a point where you became certain of completing it, or was there a sense of doubt throughout the whole thing, or no doubt, or where were you with that?
When I did my second 3 a.m. run,
Okay.
to me that was the hurdle. That was top of the mountain right
So
there.
that put you at, so this was, you started out, you did an 11, you did a 3. By the time you got back around and you did your next 3, how far were you at that
That
point?
was a 32 miler. That was the 32 mile point. At the end of that, it was 32 miles.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
finished 32 miles. Now, but at that point, you still have 16 more. You have 4
Yeah.
more runs to go.
Yep.
Still a lot, but you were,
Like I said, man, it wasn't the physical part.
It
Like,
wasn't the physical.
4 miles,
Okay.
like so. In the last 6-7 months, I've been running probably like averaging about 6 to 8 miles a day,
Mhm.
right? Each run. So 4 miles is not that big a deal to me. So I was never really thinking that the actual physical part would be hard,
Mhm.
but it did get hard. Like it didn't get hard until the 11 a.m. run on Sunday. So the 11, the 3, and then the 7 on Sunday. Now those were hard. Those were, I mean, my legs were hurting. The last one, the worst run of the whole one physically was 3 p.m. Sunday.
so the second to last.
Second to last one
Yeah.
because, dude, I didn't want to get out of it. I sat, like, after my 11 o'clock run, I got home, I sat down, I had some, like, oatmeal and some coffee, and it was warm, and it was good stuff on TV, and I was just, like some stupid movie, whatever, I forget what I was watching, might be, like, Happy Gilmore or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just chilling on the couch, next thing I know, it's 2:45, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, and you still have, at that point, you still have 8 more
got
miles.
8 miles,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like annoying, you know, you're like, oh, God, who wants to run 8 miles after
Right.
you run 40?
Yeah, no.
And the last one, you're probably like, well, this is it at least, you know.
Last
so
one was different. Last one I felt good.
a second wind.
Yeah,
almost.
I felt great. I was like, this is it. I'm going to do this. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I'm going to enjoy every friggin' footstep because I just did 44 miles and I only got 4 left. And everything, you know, and not only that, but I had a lot of stuff at home that I was going to, like, dude, I had a beer was waiting for me.
Yep.
That was always a nice little prize. Karen made a nice dinner, so that was gonna be awesome. I was gonna sit
Oh yeah.
with my TV, you know, on the couch with the TV on, with my beer and some food. It was gonna be, you know,
Yeah.
so I had that. You know, that was huge. That got me through it.
Yeah, I think you have, like, at that point, you know, like, the feeling when you're, I mean, I've never done 48 miles, like, you know, I've never done anything close to this, but, like, you know, like, thinking post-marathon,
Yeah.
that's a good, even when it's a lot of discomfort, but you also still have a lot of, like, happy adrenaline type, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
whatever combination of chemistry is firing.
Yeah, what is that? You're the brain.
Well, yeah,
all
I
that
mean,
stuff.
right. I don't know. I wouldn't want to speak, out of turn with, it's not.
Dopamine or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I always refer to it as, like, when we're talking about it, if I'm talking to a client about stuff like this, is sensory arousal. So you've got a lot of sensory discomfort because you're dealing with all these aches and pains and cramping and all kinds of negative feelings, but you've got you have a sensory arousal that is probably, I would guess, part physiological. Like, there's like what has your body been going through? How does the processes that your body's been going through during this exercise output, how are you affected? But then also too, I think there is this is where the cognitive part comes in, like what kind of affirmations are you having about what you did, and how does that impact your mood and your sensory state? And so I think there's a lot that now probably a neuroscientist could come on and give us more of the bleeps and bloops of what's happening. But I think about it as arousal, and sensory arousal can be bad. It can be, if it's not congruent with the situation, if you were gonna go and do this run, but your arousal was spiked so high in anticipation of the run, that could deplete a lot of energy. Oh, yeah. So it's, so you kind of almost have to manage that. Like, this is one of those things that probably, you said the mental part of it, and I could imagine like that you almost have to spread out that intensity.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, man, is that you're finished with the run, but you're not done. And then, so in a marathon, you just got to keep going. You know,
Right.
like it hurts, it sucks, but you just got to keep going. And it's going to be over, and then it's going to be done, and you're good. And it's going to be a long time before you do something like that, right? The hardest part about this was, okay, I just did 4. And that 4 mile run is such a small piece of the total, and you got to keep going. So it was more about like perseverance and just mental toughness, if whatever you want to, just to keep doing it, because my family was like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? There's no reason for you to do this. There's no benefit for you. You're not even raising any money. You're doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
for me though, it was just, I want to see if I can do it.
I get it.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
totally, I get it. But I had mentioned it to a few people, and also the idea, I think, was lost on most people that I shared it with. Like, kind of like almost like, like the question was more like, well, what happened? Like, did he get, like, almost like maybe that was assigned to you by a judge or something.
Right.
You're punished.
Did he hurt somebody?
Like, what did he do? Like, how did he get into that jam that he has to do this thing? The idea that it's completely this self, and like I said, it's not even, with a marathon, you sign up, you pay your money, and then you start to get that sense of obligation. You show up, and the whole thing sort of autopilots
There's
itself.
other people holding you accountable to.
Yeah, there's
you're
other,
there,
and then you're there, and you're sort of right. So like, there's a lot of things that would deter you from not carrying this thing out.
Yeah.
Where this thing, at any point, if you had said to Karen, like, if your wife had come in and said, like, are you still doing the 4x4x48? And you were like, nah, there's a,
I'm watching TV now.
Yeah, I'm watching, I changed my mind on that. She'd be like, oh yeah, of course. Whatever. Like, so I don't, probably a lot of people wouldn't have even anticipated that you would carry through. Like
that's why I think, and that's why I feel so good about doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's like a personal thing. And I'll tell you, on some of those runs, it's late. It's you've been running for a while. You haven't slept, so your mind starts wandering and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this because when I was 10 and I struck out 3 times in that damn baseball game that I'll never forget. Right? I let my team down. I'm making up for that. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to get past that I sucked at baseball as a kid. And always felt that, right, compared to my friends and everything. So now I'm like, so I was like, screw that. I'm doing this. I'm finishing it.
A time to shine.
Right. But only I knew about it.
Well, but I was going to say though, but you had told me.
Oh yeah.
So that would, I think, and I don't know if that's like a factor.
That definite factor, man.
Right, because and I, I'm like, awesome, go for it, blah blah blah, and I think I probably poked some fun at you too along the way.
Oh yeah.
We're kind of me and your brother. I
kind
think
of like when I had my 3rd kid.
Yeah, we're jabbing at you. And no offense, Aaron. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Just
awesome. We love you.
The long story we'll tell you another time.
We do a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting though. But so I think that's a part of it. Like I would imagine it would be hard for you to text me and or if I text you like how's it going, you wouldn't have wanted to been like, Yeah, I blew it off.
Oh no, dude, definitely a
You know what I
definitely,
mean?
definitely a big factor.
That's how I would have felt. I know.
100% for sure, big factor. You and to some degree, my daughters, because I didn't want them to be like, oh, Dad said this stupid stuff and now he didn't do it. At least Dad said the stupid stuff and he did it. You know?
Oh
You know
no,
what I mean?
yeah, the kids definitely.
Yeah.
You know, you're not wanting you're not wanting to let the kids down with stuff like this because and yeah, I mean, I think that's something that like if you're doing like I would put it into my mentality when I've done marathons is that there's definitely a point where you're like I'm over this is like
Oh, yeah.
not that I ever felt like I was gonna like just walk off a course or something, but you get mentally to the point where you're like this is stupid, but you do realize that there's people that are interested that are you gonna finish or
Right.
they want to know how it went. And yeah, I'm glad I've never had to tell the story of I just couldn't finish it or
Listen, man, I feel good talking about it right now. Like I'm happy to be talking about it. It's fun. It's something I'm gonna put in my mental shoebox of memories that are gonna stay with me and it makes me feel good. In fact, this makes me feel better than any marathon I've ever run for some reason. I don't know why, because it wasn't as physically demanding. But I'll tell you, if I was sitting here talking to you about how I didn't finish, I would be feeling like a real. I'd feel
and that
like
would be
shit.
okay. I mean,
It'd be
I think
okay,
that's the
but-
thing. I mean,
Yeah, but
yeah.
No, I like this better. Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's why people do persevere, and that's why you could go and probably do a YouTube search about wild marathon finishes or some
Right.
kind of, and you see people crawling across the finish line.
Just to get across that line, man. Just for that accomplishment. It's just
Yeah,
it's huge.
you get compelled to kind of finish the task. And we have some other stuff that we're going to get onto, but,
Yep.
but before we leave this though, I don't want to shortchange
No.
what because this was such an accomplishment.
Yeah.
What kind of final thoughts do you have about it? Maybe if nothing else, how do you feel like it's impacted you and will be a factor moving forward for you? And
For me, it's a stepping stone, I think, right? Like it got me to realize I'm probably in better shape than I personally give myself credit for. So,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that and that's something that it's good to realize that, I think, because now and it also that combined with doing this now I'm ready to take the next step. Like I'm thinking, you know what I want to do? I want to do something similar like this, but harder. So like maybe 3 half marathons in a day, or whatever, or something like that, where I'm compressing the mileage and putting a little bit more physical strain on my body, and I'm taking it to the next level. Because ultimately, what I'd like to do is like a 50 or 100-mile run, right? You know what I mean? Like ultra.
Same, yeah.
And this is to like I never thought, like, even if you talked to me 2 weeks ago before I did this, I would say probably not going to be able to do a 100-miler because I'm 50 and things aren't getting it physically, not getting any easier. But now after doing that, I'm like, this is doable if you approach it the right way. So I approached it with, like, when I ran in my zone 2 heart rate zone, so I knew I wasn't stressing my cardio system out. And that comes from listening to David Goggins and Charlie Angle talk about how they ran these ultras and stuff like that, and knowing that it's okay to run in zone 2. You don't have to run at peak speed. You got they call it endurance for a reason, right? You got to be able to go for the long haul. Nutrition, hydration,
A
all
game
those
plan.
things. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You can do it. Like if you get like, so I think I got myself to a certain level of fitness where that I can get my body to do the long endurance thing. The question is, can I get the discipline mentally and and kind of like from a project plan perspective, right? Can I make it happen in a good way?
Yeah.
Without going to an extreme and losing it in the middle. So now I think I can do that.
Well, I think you definitely get. I think you got a fuller perspective on that if you're going to call on your body and your mind to really stretch the limits of what you think is possible for yourself, you have to come at it from a comprehensive approach. Like it can't just be your talent, your skill, your fitness, your diet, your mentality, your strategy. It has to be all those things in synergy.
Yeah, well, let's be 100% clear. I have absolutely no athletic talent whatsoever. Like zero. Like I am not. You know what I mean? And that's not just from like eye-hand coordination or being fast and being able to be play sports. None, zero. I'm weak compared to most people. Like when I lift weights light. I'm slow when I run. I'm not like running 6-minute miles when I'm, so you got to put the work in, and you got to build that to that base level of fitness, and then everything else you just talked about comes into play. You got to be smart. You got to read and know what the heck what you're expecting out of your body, and that's and after doing this and kind of executing on that, now I got more confidence that it can happen.
It seems like because I know, like, I love like endurance sports. I think I really have such an interest in, because I feel like they're so approachable. Like it's not that, like the marathon. I think I remember in a documentary there was a little clip where someone being interviewed referred to it as the everyman's Everest.
Right.
You know what I mean? Kind of like anyone can do it, and I think with endurance type pursuits, there is that element. Of course, the further you stretch out, the more it becomes essential that you're well prepared and planned and all that stuff that we just talked about. But yeah, I think that's one of the cool things about endurance sports, is that this isn't like one of those things like if we were to say like, hey, why don't we just try to both play the NBA?
Right.
There'd be a lot of things stacked against us for us to be able to do that. Mainly that I don't think either of us are probably too hot at basketball.
Yeah.
But I think for something like this, you can be an older person, you can be out of shape, you could be maybe struggling with personal issues or challenges, and you could say to yourself, I'm going to make a plan, and I'm going to start approaching things like this and set goals and see how far I can go. Yeah. And amazing things can happen. You can maybe the 5K is the limit for somebody. Maybe it's the half marathon, maybe it's the marathon, or maybe it's like we both of us have probably watched enough shows, listened to enough podcasts, read enough books, that we've got an assortment of endurance athletes that we admire, that we've maybe gleaned important information from, and it's a cool thing, and I know it's got as we've been doing this, and I mean there's a lot going on right there. So this is sort of like we've said this is a critical point for both of us. We're at different levels. You're coming off this 48 miles. Adventure. I'm just trying to, stay fit and healthy for my surgery, but then, we're going to get into
some grand plans, though.
Yeah, we do have some grand plans. So, but I do think this is like a pivotal time. So it's kind of nice, I think, that we're both gravitating towards this type of stuff at this point together. It's going to be fun. All right, so the 4x4x48, congratulations.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
It was amazing, and the tip of the iceberg, I believe, for things.
I truly feel that, Jay. I think it's I think this time next year we'll be looking back and saying, okay, what's next?
Well, now it did inspire me, I said, to do something, and the thing that inspired me to do, despite the fact that I have surgery coming up in just a few days, which will require a 6 to 8 week recovery, and then the building up and strengthening from that point. But what I had decided to do, pretty much as you were doing this, I think it kind of sparked me to do it, was I had signed up, actually registered for the New Jersey Marathon in October.
Awesome.
And, it came down to, I was thinking to myself, I need something, I need a target. I kind of felt like, just saying like, yeah, let's see how it goes, I'll recover and then I'll try to, I kind of, I don't know, I felt like it wasn't working for me. I felt like, I'm like, you know what? I want to have a sharper focus, and I think goals, especially if they're reasonable and they're realistic and approachable, are perfect to really sharpen the focus. And I think that's what this did. You jumped on it and signed up for yourself.
Hell
so
yeah.
we're both
in.
signed up for the New Jersey Marathon, and I think it's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to hopefully the pandemic is we're in a position where the race will go off
Yeah.
in person.
I'm hoping we don't have to wear masks. I don't know if I can run a marathon with a mask.
No, I don't.
That might be tough.
Oh my God, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that. It's interesting. I never even thought about running with a mask. I would imagine that it wouldn't be a part of the requirements. I think that would be something that would be really hard for a lot of people, and I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about that. I find them to be challenging just to wear throughout a workday. But but yeah, so that's kind of good. And then so I have a surgery coming up, and it's kind of funny because I have had so many conversations about the surgery, and I wouldn't say too many.
Well, dude,
but,
something. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that and like I said, I wouldn't want to come off as unappreciative because I've been approached by so many people to talk about it, and I think at first it was really helpful, and then as time went on, sometimes depending on the moment, I felt like it was more of a chore. And I think that's probably why I didn't do a lot of videos, because there was times where I would have my thoughts that I was working on, but I really just felt like it wasn't going to help to actually articulate them, out loud.
They're your thoughts, man. You do with them what you will,
Yeah. So it's but it's been interesting to talk about, and the funny thing is that I feel like my mindset has been pretty positive towards it. But one of the things that I notice is that people react differently to that. There's some people have reactions of like, well, of course you're going to be fine, and then I have some people that will like kind of flow the conversation in a different direction of like, well, kind of like in the sense of like, well, this is pretty serious stuff here,
I think you do.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you're aware.
Yeah, and so it's kind of weird. So like I found it interesting that like when I have conversations about it, I usually come away feeling like my feelings about the conversation can be all over the place. Now, what I've tried to do is really not have too many expectations about it. I feel like I don't know, like what I mean. Like I just have the conversation, and it at this point doesn't really factor much into my own feelings about it.
Well, we've hung out a lot over the last, ever since around the end of last year, right around New Year's, right?
Yep.
So we've been hanging out a lot since then.
We've had conversations about it.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I can tell you, man, you're ready. Like you're mentally, and emotionally, you've taken a lot of twists and turns with this thing, which I would fully expect someone to do. But you're ready.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna articulate a little bit more on it after this message.
Call from Dirk Giglio.
We're not getting that. Chris Giglio, hello. We're not gonna pick up the phone, but that's okay. You leave a message, or maybe my wife will pick up. We're gonna find out.
Maybe.
Oh,
She got it.
there we go. Yeah, actually, my thing about the surgery is kind of interesting because like, I really found a lot of value in what was available in terms of resources, people talking about the surgery. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like I said, like talking about the surgery has been like a double-edged sword for me, but I definitely needed to figure it out. I definitely needed to figure out mentally how I was going to understand it and process it, and it took some doing. But I found a lot of good information. I found a lot of good resources. I found a lot of good podcasts. And ultimately, what I did come to the point, and I think we were talking about this before on our hike, is that in my mind, I felt like, well, it's a low risk type of procedure.
Yeah.
Low risk, and as low risk as open heart surgery can be,
Right.
but low risk. Now, high consequence. Like, if something was to go wrong, then the consequences are possibly significant, but by and large, these type of surgeries are done quite often, successfully quite often. And so in my mind, going
4 times a day.
Yeah, well, yeah, supposedly Dr. Lee, I think the last time we talked about you on here, we were wishing you to be very restful, and I will also wish you to stay restful this week. Okay, rest up.
Maybe stay at a Holiday Inn.
Or do whatever you do. I don't want you to change anything. Whatever keeps you in your flow, do that. But just nothing too dangerous, because we want you got to have your
No Thursday skydiving.
I don't want. Let's put it this way. I don't want a substitute teacher. Like, I don't want to go in there and be like, well, Dr. Smith is taking over for Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee fell off his skateboard. Okay, none of that. So stay safe, Dr. Lee, if you're out there. But so that was my main thing that I finally had come to the conclusion of, that this is no big deal. It's low risk.
Yeah, I agree. I think first of all, it definitely is low risk.
It's crazy.
And
that's the part
when you actually think of, like, when you
Yeah.
actually think about what they're gonna do, and
What they're gonna do.
right? Definitely mind-boggling.
Magic.
It's just
A lot of magic right there
crazy,
going
right?
on.
But thank God. Listen, thank God it's not. Thank God it's 2021 and not 1421.
Thank God it's not us doing the surgery. Like they're calling us in.
I think I
and we're
could do
like,
it though, man.
You think so?
Yeah, I can
Like
give it a
like
shot.
what if Dr. Lee stood over us and just talked us through it?
That should be you should be able to pay for that experience and do it. Maybe the person that you're operating with gets a discount.
Like a surgeon fantasy camp?
Yeah.
Maybe. But anyway, we'll put a pin on that one.
All right, maybe next time.
So coming into it, but I think the other thing that helped was, so first just
Whoa.
it's Sunday. I guess it's just like a day where people like to talk to my wife. Nobody calls for me.
Oh, I do.
I'm almost certain.
I think the last call I got on my cell phone was 2 weeks ago.
So, so part one is just seeing the procedure as low risk, and then part two of it, I think, is I love this quote. I know I sent you this quote, and it was from Alex Honnold from the Free Solo movie, and in it he there's this part where I'll try not to mess it up, but he says it's something about.
Hold on, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, find it. Yeah, because I was gonna say I feel like we're gonna mess it up. It's like a short clip, but basically what he's talking about is the ability to face fear for your goal. And
Here it is.
okay. Oh yeah, let's see. All right, so let's read it off of here. You face your fear because your goal demands it. That is the goddamn warrior spirit. I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
I love that. And so
Okay.
I kind of to me that's an important, I love that piece of, and I think that's where being, having the marathon set, to me it kind of all comes together for me in seeing this as sort of like just a necessary thing that's going to help me get to my goal.
It's part of the training, man.
It's
You know
part
what I
of the
mean? It's
training.
part of the
part of
program.
yeah. So I've kind of, I don't know. Is to a certain degree, it's like this mental trickery.
Without question. Well, listen. I mean,
But that's what you do. I think that's what
you gotta do it, because if you don't, what's the other option? Like, what are the other alternatives to freak out about it? And so what I like what you've done over the last 3 months is you thought about it, got real deep about it.
Watched a video of it.
Well, yeah, that too. But also, you started to do things differently than you had in the past, right? Like lots and lots more inspirational media things that, like podcasts and books and stuff like that. Lots and lots of good conversations about positivity, moving forward, and, testing yourself and your limits. Hell, I would never have done 4x4x48 if this path didn't come to you.
Maybe
You know
not.
what I mean? No, without question.
Oh, yeah?
Without question. No, dude. For sure, never
Yeah.
would have done something like that. In fact, probably would have run my last marathon, and never done it again.
Well,
and so,
yeah.
and probably would have gone down the path of, I'm just going to run a few miles every day and just to keep in shape and, But now, with all the stuff that you've done and you've gone through, and it's totally worn off on me, is, let's test ourselves. Let's go that next level, and let's be positive about it. It's not just about pushing your physical limits, your spiritual, mental, your inner self. Push yourself to the limit and get past it and grow. And so that has been, an amazing thing that you've done over the last few months. I think you've taken that a lot of that concern, a lot of that worry, a lot of that uncertainty that's about what's going to happen in a few days, and you've turned it into a positive path, and that's great.
A trajectory changer.
Yeah,
I think so. I feel we talked about it. We actually had the funny thing is like I feel like a lot of this discussion we kind of like
these are our discussions.
These are our discussions. We actually did a lot. We talked a lot about this today on our hike too. Sourlands Mountain Preserve.
Awesome.
Highly recommend. Preserve. Yeah, Sourlands is good
Hillsborough, Montgomery, it's awesome. It's great.
Excellent hiking.
Hike. Yeah.
But we talked, and I do believe that. I think that we would have talked about doing another marathon just forever. It would have just would have been a discussion. And for me, it might have been just a discussion that would have just kept happening as my belly got bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think it was one of those things where it was like, well, I could change now.
Yeah.
Kind of like I could have changed at any point, but for some reason now seems like a really good time to change. Like make the changes, lose weight, focus on fitness, positive, mental attitude, all this different stuff. So, so I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, because at one point I had said, like, to someone we were talking about, I said, well, it's like one of those things like, someone has like a near-death experience, they have like an accident or something, they survive, and then after that, all of life is but a sweet nectar, right? And of course, it doesn't usually work out that way. People go back into old habits.
Life is hard, man. Life is tough.
It's
not all fun.
Right. And listen, there's nothing wrong. Like I actually did a post on my social media the other day and talking about being happy and grateful, but it doesn't mean I'm not also a jerk and impatient, and you know what I mean. Like, so you can be human too. But I think generally I've noticed that there's that shift happened. That shift has happened for me, and so I'm excited. I think that I've been taking advantage of the shift in my mentality and really enjoying the now. But I also am looking forward to trying to realize this goal post surgery of just getting recovered and getting my fitness to the point of, even after having an open heart surgery, getting my fitness to the point of maybe the best it's been.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things to be excited about when it comes to that, and you know what, these things that we do will certainly not make sense to everybody. There's like that's one thing, right? You think that like everyone's going to be impressed when you do this or that, and you find out that most of the time, whatever your thing is, people don't necessarily get it or understand
don't really
it.
care, man. It's like
but
true.
It's true.
They care about as much as you care about what they do. And I'm not saying you don't. All I'm saying is,
no, I get you.
It's one little piece. What you do is one little piece of someone else's.
It's got to be for yourself, or it's
or
something you experience together.
Yeah, your immediate
Yeah.
close group. You know what I mean? That you share life with, for sure.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this. This could be this is
everybody's got their thing.
Everyone's got their it made sense with all that was going on to kind of put this focus on fitness, and it wasn't a foreign thing. It was we've really enjoyed like doing physical things and stuff like that. But it could easily be someone in this situation says, I'm going to rededicate myself to something artistic, or maybe their occupation or their relationships, or so like something that changes trajectory in some important area of their life. So this is just one facet of it, but I think it's just it's a fun part of life to talk about. There's a lot of parts of life that aren't fun to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
But these type of things are pretty fun.
These are awesome. I love
them.
But I'll tell you what, dude, your shift in that approach is seismic. It's not just for this one piece of life. You've shifted your attitude for all of it, right? So, maybe you'll accomplish a bunch of stuff physically and from an endurance sport perspective, but you'll also apply that to everything else, like we were talking about, right? Mm. Just go, like you signed up for the marathon, knowing you got heart surgery ahead of you and an uphill battle to even walk a few miles, right? Mm-hmm. So, but you're going to run that marathon, and you're going to approach other stuff in your life just like that. This is like, I mean, I could tell it's, I've known you for a long time, 30 years. And this is a big shift for you, right? You've taken a, not just like a fad, right? Like, hey, I'm going to do this, and the next thing I'm going to do something different. This is a basic shift in the way you're approaching life, and it's great, right? And it's rubbed off on me, like I said, man, and especially with the why wait? Why wait?
Why wait?
Why wait? You know, man, listen, let's just go do it. You know, and if you do it and you succeed, awesome. If you do it and you fail, you'll try again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I don't think
That's
there's
the key.
I don't think there's like, almost kind of even going into the surgery, it's really kind of like, at one point, it's like, well, why, what would be the reason, the purpose, the benefit, the sense of like leading into that with your anxiety?
Right.
Like it's kind of one of those things of like, what are you worried about that it doesn't go well? Well, if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. But you worrying about that it's not going to go well doesn't help at all.
No.
It doesn't help in any way, and it can make you feel pretty miserable. And actually, I mean, and to that point, I did have that experience. I had that experience for, I think, New Year's Eve. We talked to the surgeon, and then I think for about 2 weeks after that, I was in and out of what I call the pit, where I was kind of like, oh shit, this is bad. Yeah. And so it took a while because that was real, but then I got to the point where I think after a couple of weeks of that, I was like, well, I don't want to be here.
Did you go through the why me?
No, because you know what, I've always had trouble doing that, and I think that there's always, I don't know, I just feel like I've known so many people in life, like most people could say this sentence that I'm about to say, but I just have had so many experiences in life where I've seen people go through all kinds of horrible times.
Right.
And so, I don't think I think it would be quite hard to feel that way, because I do feel like I've had a really, great life. And so, like, for me to say like, oh, well, if it ends, that's, BS, why me? I just, that kind of stuff doesn't make sense to me. So I never really felt that way about it. But, it was more, I think, how the heck am I going to do that? Like, and like I said, I think that's where it took me a while to really kind of get more of an accurate understanding of what exactly I was going to go through, in terms of like what actually that surgery entailed, but also too, where I should put my energy when I'm thinking about it. Like, like for me to think, well, I hope that first incision goes well, like how you going to do?
What, you have no effect on that, man.
It's kind of like, to a certain extent, it's like, if you got your car is acting up and you take it into the mechanic, I mean, you're not going to be over the guy's shoulder or the girl's shoulder, right? You're not going to be over that mechanic's shoulder. You're gonna say, I mean, if that was the case, you'd probably try to fix it on your own. But like me, I'm not going to go in there and I'm going to say like, okay, I've heard you're a good mechanic, or you fixed my car before, so I'm going to let you do your thing. And so why would I fret about what's going on in that shop? I'm going to see you when the car is ready. And you'll tell me how it went, and I'll drive off. So I kind of feel the same way about this surgery. I mean, it's a little bit of a rough comparison, I guess, but I don't have to worry about a lot of the odds and ends. I do have things to worry about. I have my own responsibilities that I need to take care of leading up to the surgery, different things that I'm being assigned to do. When I walk in there, I feel like when I walk in there, my job is to be loose and have fun, because that's what I like to do. It's kind of generally how I am. I like to joke around most of the time wherever I am, and so I'm anticipating that I'll probably do that. I'll probably go in and they might, who knows, maybe everybody goes in to open heart surgery cracking jokes. I don't know, but I kind of feel like that's kind of be my I feel like that's going to be my walk that day. Is like, let's make this kind of fun. Like let's joke around. Like if you're the one that is going to put my IV in. Well, how's your life? What's going on with you? You're at work,
right?
I mean, I got a big day, right. But you got a big day too.
When's lunch?
Right? You got to work. Maybe you got kids, So like I always get interested in those things, Like so, I think that will be really where my mental focus is that day, and then I think before I know it, I'll just be waking up.
You will be.
So
you'll be like,
yeah. So I think it's going to go quick. I think it's going to be one of those things where ha ha, deep breath, pass out, wake
Next
up.
thing you know,
What happened?
yeah.
I have a score.
Oh shit! What
Yeah,
happened?
but yeah, so it's good. So we got a lot of good stuff ahead. The surgery, then a focus on the marathon, and then I know one of your goals, real quick, if you want to just bring it up. What is your? I know you're in this marathon journey with me. We're going to be doing this marathon together, but you also have something else too that's in your mind.
Well, I'm thinking, now that again the 4x4x48 has gotten me thinking. Maybe right, maybe wrong. I want to try to qualify for Boston. I think that's the goal, and that means I got to run a marathon in 3 hours 25 minutes.
That's exciting.
Which is a pretty, for me, which is a very steep. That's a steep ask. You know what I mean? There's no. I haven't come close to that in my others, and it's going to take a lot of training, a lot of and I'm thinking it's a 2-year process for me to be able to go and do that. It's a big deal, but also that's a really good thing because that means 2 years of being physically fit. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing.
I was going to say, I think that's an interesting journey because even once you qualify. Like the qualifying for Boston is the main thing, right? You have to hit a certain time. Would you say yours is going to be
3:25
at your age group for males? 3:25 in a marathon gets you qualified for Boston, and
then you got to run Boston.
Then you got to run Boston, which is sort of like I would imagine. I don't know, but like it's almost like somewhat the pressure's off because.
Definitely.
Running the race is the celebration.
It's a fun run. It's a fun. You could decide if you want to run it in 3 hours or 5 hours. It doesn't really matter because you made it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'll tell you what. I have no plans to qualify for Boston unless possibly Dr. Lee puts some turbo unit in here, and then all of a sudden, who knows? I mean, that could happen. Maybe I come out and I'm like
Ratchet it up a
turbocharged.
bit, yeah.
But I can tell you what, if you qualify for Boston, I am definitely going to Boston.
Oh hell yeah, dude! It's gonna.
And I'd almost rather go and watch you and hang out in the crowd and have a blast because being a spectator at something like that would probably be a
fun.
hoot, man.
Oh yeah,
I would love that. But I love that goal, and I definitely feel good about you accomplishing that.
I'm gonna try.
What's your best time right now?
3:37. So
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
12. That's about. You got to take a 30.
You did a
second-
3:37,
Yeah, I got to take.
Yeah.
I got to take 30 seconds off each mile essentially.
and not.
That's no joke. I mean, that's a lot of time.
I think a lot of people wouldn't understand. I think there's definitely people that would be like, "Oh, simple."
Yeah.
No, I think when the more you whittle down, the closer you're getting, as to those lower times,
Just with diminishing returns, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the increments become so much more challenging minute to minute when you're trying to shave off time.
That's tough.
But that being said,
It's doable. It's doable.
I feel like you have another, just like I feel like I have another year to go.
Definitely.
I feel like you have another year.
Dude, I
to
feel like
kick
both
into.
of us have never given it everything. You know what I mean? Like I've
No.
never said, I'm going to focus and dedicate everything I can to this. I think there's still a little bit of time left to do that before we get too old, and got to hobble around.
Before we wrap up, anything else to touch on? I think we did a pretty good episode. I'm not sure of our time. I'm guessing we're probably around the hour mark, give or take.
Right.
But
Well, I'll tell you what. For me, this will be the last time we hang out before you.
that's right.
You go. So
Quarantine.
I love you.
Love you too.
You're like a brother.
Thank you.
And
Brothers
Yeah.
from another mother. Yeah. It's gonna be great. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be quarantining, which is fine. I kind of feel like, honestly, without sounding like kind of hippy dippy here, I feel like it's a time to turn inward a little bit.
Definitely.
I'm really kind of like, even to the point where I almost kind of like, I had talked to Karen about I wasn't so sure I wanted her to drive me to the surgery because I feel like it's going to be difficult for her emotionally. And it still might be, but she's promised me that she'll stick as best she can into coach mode. Because I was actually going to ask you to do it because I feel like, and it's kind of like one of those things like, I almost want her to kind of, smack me on the face and, pound the shoulders like we're getting ready to go into a football game. That's kind of my mentality going in. Like, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but like, I kind of feel like at that point when I leave the car, because I'm going to be by myself, at that point when I leave the car and go to walk into the hospital, I feel like there's no room for weakness.
None. No, dude. There's none. You got to go in strong.
So-
you got to go in confident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or go in goofy,
Well,
know.
let
So
me say,
combination of that.
You got to go in without hesitation.
No, positive.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go. Let's do it.
That's
Let's have
it.
fun. And yeah, so we'll wrap it up on that. So probably because I'm anticipating that I won't record until after the surgery, and then so this could probably be the last Some Roads Lead there until the surgery. So the next time that there'll be a video, it'll be all said and done,
Yeah.
and the
Awesome.
West will be won.
I'm looking forward to our next podcast.
Oh yeah, it'll be
which
good.
will,
We'll
yeah.
we'll definitely. I think the thing is that these podcasts are. I mean, listen, this channel could be whatever, but I think that we're gonna have a lot of fun coming up with these podcasts, especially with a lot of the things that we're going to be working on. When I get cleared to run, my plan is to really give a lot of attention to a good game plan.
We'll game plan it. We'll get the gear right. We'll get the program right.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot to talk about in terms of what we're doing with training and stuff like that. And my goal right now, for the New Jersey Marathon, I think you're going to run with me. I don't think
100%. We're running together. Yeah, for sure.
All right, we can do that. My goal, I think I had said it already. My goal time is a 4.5.
That's
and it's doable.
doable.
My best I've done is a 4:51, which is it's on the slower end. I mean, but I think the 4.5 to me seems like a reasonable, approachable thing,
It's doable.
realistic for me. And my goal, my hope would be to be able to incrementally bring that number down. Assuming that we're continuing to pursue these type of events, marathon events.
Yep.
But we've talked about some other stuff too. So
Yeah.
all right, peace.